Hello YouTube, this is Dexter Nolan here with a brand new deck profile. This is Satellarknight, so I'm going to get straight into it. Actually, before I start the deck list, there's a few things I'd like to mention. First off, this deck is not finished. Like all my decks, I'm always changing them about, and there's certain things I don't like and certain things I do like. I think I'm going to bump Stellar Nova Alpha up to 3 because it's just such a good card and it generates a lot of advantage. Other than that, I think I'm going to be adding another Soul Charge, but aside from that, the deck list is perfect. The extra deck just needs one more card, and I'm confident with that too. So let me get straight into the deck list. Triple Deneb. Deneb is a searcher for the deck, and I think he's the second best Stellar Knight. It's mandatory at 3. This guy's amazing. On any form of summon, even when he's summoned off Altair, he gets a search. When he's summoned off Call the Haunted, Soul Charge gets a search. He usually searches out this guy, Altair. Altair is like a Wolfbark, except he's much better than Wolfbark. This reason is because he's so easily summonable on the deck. Even if he gets bottomless, you still get it in a Neb back, which searches an Altair for next turn. It's so broken. These cards recycle so well. They're really fast and so good. He's a standard at 3. You can run no less. Those two are the main Satellarknights. They're the broken guys, I think. Unicali I run at 2. I'm thinking maybe a third is in order, but I'm not quite sure yet. I want to keep the monster count low, but not too low. So I've added up to, I think, 12 monsters, maybe more. I think 12. But yeah, 2 of this guy. He's an Armageddon Knight for the deck. 1800 attack. He's pretty solid, and he kind of sets up plays. Next you have Alsum. Alsum is more of a tech because not a lot of people run Alsum. When he's summoned, he does 1000 burn damage. As you know, these guys are a summon heavy archetype. He can be summoned so easily, searched so easily, dumped very easily. So I mean, it's 1000 burn damage maybe twice, 3 times per duel, and I think that 3k really adds up, especially in such a soul charge heavy intense format. I mean, life points are so meaningless to people that they just go through them, and they don't expect an Alsum to pop out and burn them for a few times in the match. So yeah, Alsum. 1 Vega. I'm not a fan of Vega. He's my least favorite guy, but he has his place, and since he can be so easily searched and dumped, I think he's a place in this deck. So there are 9 Satellarknight monsters. 10 Satellarknight monsters. There's 2 monsters I'm running other than the Satellarknights that I just have to increase consistency and because I think they have a valid place in this deck. First off, every card in this deck is light, so Honest really should be in here. Honest is such a good card, and it makes Deltaros, this guy here, such a good beater. I'm going to show you something you can do later on, which makes you pretty much near invincible Deltaros. Well, near invincible, nothing near. And Compulse is just so good. Compulse, what? Sorry. Honest is just so good. Everything is light in here, but I may drop it eventually. Of course, this is a turbo deck, and it should run very little monsters because it has so much consistency anyway. I don't really see the need for Honest, but I do have it in here because until the new support comes out, I think it does have a valid place in the deck. Next, I have Photon Thrasher. He's searchable with Rhoda, and he makes rank 4 plays first turn so much better. I mean, if you can go Photon Thrasher into Deneb, rank 4, you got your search off Deneb, you got Altair for next turn, detach the Deneb for whatever rank 4 you make, and then you've a rank 4 set up for the next turn. There's so many plays you can make, and of course if you have a road on top of that, you can actually search Vega, and then you could go Photon Thrasher, Vega, get a Deneb, get a search, and Deltros play. Deltros dies, you get a Deneb back. Deltros pops 1. It's just so good. So that's all for the monsters. There's 12 monsters there. I may cut Photon Thrasher as well, but I'm not quite sure yet. 1 Dark Hole, because it's a staple. Well, a lot of people haven't been running it because there's so many floaters nowadays, but I really like Dark Hole because in my meta you'll find decks that are kind of irritating to play around, that use lots of monsters, and you'll find things like Blackwings, Gladiator Beast, and that kind of crap, and you can +1 off this card so easily if you used right, and you have an awful lot of floaters too, so I think this card is worth running. If I was bringing it to a YCS, I'd probably cut it inside it, but I'm not, so yeah. 1 Book of Moon, because Book of Moon is just such a versatile card. It's one of my favourite cards in the game, and I think it deserves the spot in here, since it's only at 1, and you only run 1. Yeah. 1 Soul Charge. I'm thinking of upping this to 2 and cutting the next card, simply because Soul Charge is so good in this deck. I think it's the third best deck you can run Soul Charge in, the others being Lightsworn Ruler or Dragon Ruler variants in general, and the main one is Infernities, who can really abuse it. Sylvans also get a great boost out of this card, but Sylvans I think aren't a very good deck, a very overrated deck, and that's just my opinion. So if you play Sylvans, I don't mean to offend you, but I don't think Sylvans are all that great a deck. Mind Control, because it makes rank 4s. You can steal your opponent's level 4 and then make a rank 4 out of it. Believe it or not, this is actually a common scenario because, well, a lot of decks run level 4s. Shadows do it, I think. Burning Abyss don't do it, but you can mind control one of their monsters and it nukes itself, so it's pretty much a pop one. Other than that, you got Infernities. It's so nice to mind control an Archfiend, and so many other decks, really. You can bait out that Infernity barrier too on first turn if you do go second against Infernities. But yeah, I think it's just a general good card, especially as I said, I play a lot of not so meta decks like Glad Beasts and Blackwings and all sorts of decks, and I really honestly think that stealing one of their level 4s and then making a rank 4 out of it is just such a nice play. Next you have 2 Lance, because Lance protects your cards, and I think it deserves a spot in this deck. A lot of people don't run Lance in this deck. I like Lance. I'm running a very spell trap heavy version, I guess, and well, everyone runs a very spell trap heavy version, but I'm testing things out and I like Lance, so I put it in here. And actually I've got 2 Stellarknight Alpha, which is a card everyone says is bad, but you put this on a Deltros, it's really good. He's unaffected by spells, traps, and gains 500 attack. That's a 3k beater. That's as strong as Apocryphort Killer, I think it's called. Apocryphort Killer is the guy's name, and that actually makes a Deltros into an Apocryphort Killer. He can be destroyed by a battle, of course, but you've Honest in the deck. So if you have an Honest in hand, then they can maybe go -3 or 4 to bring out some big monster that can beat over your Deltros. All you have to do is Honest, and then it's pretty much a good game. I mean, I really like this card, but again, if you don't run it, you're probably right. I'm pretty sure I'm going to cut it at some stage, but I'm running it for the fun now, and it's really good in my locals because it makes an awful lot of decks just scoop because they can't bring out 3k or more monsters that can beat over it. 2 Rhoda, because Rhoda is a great card in this deck. It's just searches so good consistency. So yeah, I'm running double Rhoda. Next we got triple MST. There's 2 and there's the third MST. You run triple MST because you don't want those floodgates to get you, especially in those anti-meta decks I mentioned in my locals. There's a Fire King deck, and the supply squads in that deck are just crazily annoying, so I have to run those 3 MSTs. You might see an awful lot of things in this deck that you wouldn't see in a YCS build, because this isn't a YCS build, this is a local build, and locals tend to have a lot less tier 1 decks, so yeah. 3 Pot of Duality, because it's a consistency card, and you don't necessarily special summon turn 1 anyways. It's great opening a Deneb turn 1, it's great opening the Vega Thrasher combo. So many great plays you can make, and you just want to get this out. Of course, you can actually sorry, you can actually summon Thrasher on the turn you do a pop, but you get my point. It's a great card in this deck, adds consistency. I'm thinking about adding 3 upstarts, and you can probably see which cards I'm going to cut for it, because they're pretty self-explanatory. Maybe the Lances, maybe the Stellarknight Alphas, and maybe the Mind Control, but that's for Soul Charge, so yeah. There's a few small changes I make, but other than that, the deck is kind of the best version. 2 Stellarknight Alpha. I was thinking about cutting this Deep Prison here for the 3rd copy, because I'm only actually running 1 Deep Prison, which isn't very consistent, and I'd much rather have this card, so I'm going to try and pick up a 3rd one of this and add take this out. So yeah, you could pretty much say that's 3 Stellarknight Alpha. 1 Compulse, 1 Solemn Warning, 1 Bottomless, and 1 Torrential Tribute, because these are the staples for. I run them in most decks. Torrential is not that good anymore, simply because the meta is full of loaders, and even in my local meta, I'm finding that so many things just float. They can just shake it off. It's quite annoying actually, but I don't know. Maybe bringing a time space trap ball instead, and that was what I was thinking about doing. But until then, I think those 4 are fine. Do War Tap, because War Tap is a really, really good card. and you want your plays to go through. Especially when your plays can mean that you can go plus 2-3 or something. Deltros is such a good card. If you can stop a play that would stop him getting brought out, you can pretty much guarantee your opponent's lost. Deltros is such a good card. He's such a power monster. Deltros destroys one per turn, and then when he dies, you get a Deneb back or an Altair. And if you guys know what that means, a Deneb and an Altair back, what that means is, if you bring back Altair, you bring back Altair. He summons Deneb, you get a search rank 4 next turn. Maybe a triple material rank 4 because you get the search, and if your opponent can't destroy one of those monsters on the field, yeah. And then you have a Deneb play, which if you don't have an Altair in the grave, you can just bring back a Deneb. Deneb then searches and you can set up for next turn, or you could even bring out Alsam if he's in the grave. Alsam just means a 1000 burn plus a monster on field. If you have the right hand, you can make that into rank 4 next turn, plus your opponent's taking 1000 burn. You know, it's set up. It's such a good card, and I honestly think that. And you want this place to go through, and that's why War Tap at 2 is such a great card. 3 Call of the Haunted, because this deck abuses it so well, because of the on-summon effects. If your opponents are doing their turn, they're attacking, you can actually just activate Call the Haunted. Bring back an Altair. Bring back from Altair a Deneb. Get a search. Or you could bring back an Altair. Bring back an Alsam. Burn 1000 rank 4. You know, it's so good. It really is so good. And that's what I was saying about Alsam. You can get 3 or 4 burns, 2 or 3 maybe, burns from him throughout the duel. And it's made possible by this. And believe it or not, that is so good, because what that means is you deal less damage in the game, like over monsters, and it makes the deck so much faster. This deck punishes players who don't match the speed of you, because you can generate so much advantage early game. Of course, it does cycle out of resources fairly fast, but we're getting a card called Trivial. I think no, not Trivial. An Exceed monster, I think. Or maybe it's not, but one of the 2 playable cards in the next set that comes out for this deck actually recycles 5 cards from the grave. And Daigusto Emerald is also a card I would be running in my extra deck. That's the card I mentioned that I don't have in here. So yeah, I'll move straight on to the extra deck. 2 Deltros, because I think 2 is fine. You don't really make the third, and actually have 2 more 3 material rank 4s in here that I think are pretty solid. Star Seraph Sentry and Masquerade. You guys might not have heard of these because they're kind of under the radar rares that aren't worth much and have kind of lackluster effects if you can't make them easily. And in this deck you can make them so easily that you can say, well, it's easy enough for me to make a Castel, but it's just as easy for me to make one of these guys. And then you look at their effects, and I don't know if you can see this, guys. No, the camera won't focus in, it's all for you. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Exceed material from this card, then target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, half its attack, also negate its effect. Now, straight there, you have a lot of damage on board. If you're having, doesn't matter what monster it is, attack, that's going straight down, so this can beat over it. And also negate its effects. So if it's a monster that has this card cannot be destroyed by battle or something, you can negate that and just attack over it. If it's Winda, for some reason, if your opponent has a Wind on the field and you yet manage to get this card out, which is, I think, pretty much impossible. But if that was the case, you could just have its attack, special summon more, and then, have its attack and then negate its effect, special summon some more, and then have an unbeatable field, just beat over their cards. If this card on the field would be destroyed, you can detach all its materials instead. So yeah, you can protect it once. It's a pretty average effect, I guess. And if you do any battle damage you take this turn, this half. That doesn't really matter. So that's a solid card. Good if you need to beat over something, I guess. It's just good to have in the deck for the toolbox. And then you have Masquerade, and Masquerade is during either player's battle phase when an opponent monster effect is activated. You can attach one material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, inflict 800 damage to your opponent. Okay, what does this do, you might ask? It means that if your opponent has a monster that has an effect like Utopia, you can attach a material to negate an attack, you can actually negate that effect, then burn for 800 and destroy that monster. So you can actually declare an attack direct, so 2700, destroy Utopia and do 800. So that's a lot of damage on board, and that's a good card for certain times where you're locked out by a monster effect that activates in the battle step, which is actually not that uncommon, by the way. Then you've some of these rank 4s which are kind of restricted to your your deck being light warriors. So Consular Omega is 2 level 4 light monsters. Consular Omega is such a great card. I'm actually borrowing this off my friend, so I'm going to actually have to give it back to him. But it's coming out in the Megaton, so I'll be able to pick one up fairly cheap anyways. So Consular Omega is pretty standard. Blade Armor Ninja can attack twice. I don't see any reason not to run him. 2 level 4 warrior monsters. 2200 attack. I mean, you can beat over 2 monsters, especially if your opponent has something like a Draka second board. You can beat over the 2 tokens, and he won't be able to pop a monster you control next turn. And Gandava, so solid, such a great card, especially in this format where somebody your opponent special summons a lot of monsters. You know, bring this out in the mirror match, and you're pretty much solid. Your opponent can't Altair. You can just pop the Altair. You can just pop the monster he summons. You can't Vega. You can pop the monster that summons Thrasher. Pop it. You know, it's so good against so many decks. Great card. Castell, because I think it's the best rank 4. I don't have an Exile Knight. This is an Exile Knight. I'll get it when the Megatons come out, because obviously there's no point holding trying to get it while it's so high still. But that's an Exile Knight, so Castell. I don't need a 101, but if I do get a 101, which I'll probably try and get, I'll probably swap them out for Pappy. These 2 cards are kind of lackluster, but this is great in some matches, and this is alright. It's good to have as a toolbox card. Amazing card, so good, never going to drop it. Rhapsody and Berserk, one of my favourite rank 4s. Ragnar Zero, same thing. Both these cards are situational against certain matchups, you want to use them. But in those matchups, they really are so good. This guy kills Fire Kings, banish their 2 Garunics. This guy kills Fire Fists, and a lot of other cards like Bujins when they bring out Tenkies. Then you got Maestroke, the Symphony Djinn. Just an average card I have in here because I have the space for it. 1 Diamond Direwolf because I have the space for it, and it's good for good outs. I think I'll probably get another Castell and replace this with Castell, and then you've 1 Black Ship of Corn. I'll try and get Emerald instead of this card, and Corn I'll keep in. So yeah, thanks for watching. That's my take on the Satellarknight deck. There's the full deck, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, a comment if you thought the deck was good. If you thought it was crap, say so too. If you did enjoy the video and want to see some more of my videos, feel free to subscribe. And thank you for watching, and peace out.